And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
And you don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a personal long-term recovery from substance use disorder.
Okay, I gotta work on that.
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have a gig.
Yeah.
Gosh, you showed up.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the award-winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd. I am your host, Nathan Mitchell. That was a joke there. Thank you, Art.
Yep, double bubble.
Oh, come on, man. Now don't do that.
Bubblicious.
All right, yeah, Bubblicious. And that's because I'm wearing this big, bright pink shirt. And maybe it's double bubble because, let's just say the pandemic's had me eaten. Today, our guest is Frank Cordovano, coming all the way from New York and California from a long time ago. He's sharing with us a long-term recovery story. As well as the work that you're doing outside with LoneWolf and what you come to do at the McShin Foundation, which I know has been, I see the guys do it every Monday, and I know the women love it too. Frank, welcome to the show, buddy. What's going on with you?
I appreciate you coming and asking me to do this. I think I even suggested that I'd love to do it, to tell you the truth. But that's the New Yorker in me.
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
The old hedge fund guy, seize the moment, carpe diem. I'm doing great. When people ask me how I'm doing and I'm generally in a good place, they say fantastic. Any better, and they probably come arrest me. So if they come knocking in the door, Art's got the bail money, I'm sure, so. I just love being here. I'm only 3 years here in Richmond. I came from San Diego, and I came here to change the way the recovery was done. How I got here was that I was living up in Leesburg for about 6 months. I had gone to have a new relationship with a woman that I thought was the one. After being divorced twice,
Aren't they all the one?
They're all the one. Exactly.
She wasn't the one?
No, she wasn't.
She wasn't the two?
No, it blew up. She had huge trauma that she didn't want to take care of. And I said, and I was coming down to Richmond. I had been a recovery coach all over the country doing sober companion and stuff. And when I got to Virginia, they told me I had to do this peer training in order to be a recovery coach here. So I had gotten in contact when I was in Leesburg with this woman, Marjorie Yates.
Yeah,
from the SAR
Lighthouse.
Center. Yeah. And Lighthouse, exactly. And she and I, both being Italian from New York, we hit it off. And
I've never actually met her.
She's amazing. She's my best friend.
Okay.
She's my best friend.
Okay.
Here. She's the reason why I stayed here. So I curse at her sometimes. No, not at all anymore. And I came here, I did the peer training over at the SAR Center, and she was just abusing the hell out of me because I was doing keto and I was doing CrossFit in a big way at the same time. So she was saying, you're just a CF and a KA asshole, meaning a keto asshole and a CrossFit asshole. Sorry for the language.
No.
Because when you're doing those things, you have to let everybody know what you're doing. Unfortunately, it's an ego thing.
Right.
So at the end of it, she said, I was on my way back to go to Leesburg, pack up my stuff and have it shipped back to San Diego, and says, I want you to do me a favor. I said, what's that? She says, I want you to stay here because you do things that no one else does. And I want you to help me change recovery here in whatever way we can do that. And on the spur of the moment, I said, okay, done.
How did you meet Marjorie?
Just because I had to do this PRS training.
Okay. So
and I didn't want to do like 8 weekends or stuff like that. I wanted to get it done in a week. And I contacted her when I was up in Leesburg, and we just hit it off.
So you took the PRS class with Marjorie.
I did.
And so for those out there, it's a peer recovery specialist class, and that is it's a pathway in Virginia of becoming a peer recovery specialist. The class is or recovery coach broadly, but and you can get nationally certified. You can get certified here in Virginia itself. But you also have to do to get that certification. You have to do the 72-hour class, and then you have a 500-hour, essentially practical internship kind of thing.
Exactly.
And so that's how we found you here. How did you find McShin to do that at that time?
Well, what happened was because it was right before the pandemic started.
Right.
Okay, and I had come here and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was doing sober companion work for people that I knew from all over the country, flying people around and stuff. But then Jesse called me up one day.
Wasaki.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he said, I need someone to come in this weekend and just to be the coach for the weekend because the person that was doing, I forget his name, was leaving. And I came in for the weekend and I was, so I took that job on. It was about 6 months and then the pandemic hit and they closed everything down. So that's how I got, and I wasn't doing breath work then. I was doing it personally, but I was here and I was doing meditation classes on Sundays and bringing people out hiking and stuff. And yeah it was cool.
Well, so you brought something up and you've said it twice now, so I have to ask you about this. Where can Art and I find these opportunities to be a sober companion with someone who can just fly around with you? Yeah. I knew you'd want a clue on that too. How do we find that gig?
Well,
because I could use that gig. I'm an excellent traveler.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. 7 years ago, I left Wall Street. Okay. And I was in San Diego at the time and I had a sponsor, Mick, who I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. And he said, you have a really big niche. He said,
wait,
niche. I said,
okay,
niche,
just making sure.
Niche being
Nathan.
Yeah, Art. And that at the time, well, not at the time, I had been homeless. When I first came into recovery, I was homeless 39 years ago, living in the tunnels of Grand Central Station.
Wow.
And I just happened to walk into an AA meeting, not wanting to get sober. I just wanted to get coffee and donuts.
Yeah.
And then, just by the grace, things happen. And 2 years later, I had this huge career on Wall Street. So he said, here you are, someone who had a really bad bottom, almost killing you. You went out and you had this great career. He said, you can be this companion to people like big executives and companies, entertainers, sports people, which is what I did for a couple of years before I got here.
How did you end up in the tunnels of Grand Central Station? Let's, like in an AA meeting, briefly, what it was like, what happened, what's like now.
Well, 2 words that got me into the tunnels was free-base cocaine.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wait, is that 2 words or 3 words?
I don't know, but that was the thing back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I grew up in New York City. Went to this great high school called Stuyvesant, which is like for all the nerds, the math and the science. But then I decided I wanted to go to West Virginia and play football.
Oh, wow.
So I played football at WVU.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I left before I got my degree because the governor had put someone into my fraternity house because his son, Kim, was doing stuff with me. And Kim called me and said, you have 20 minutes to get out of West Virginia. So I took my albums and my cat, got in my car and booked it out of there.
Wait. So you're telling me the governor of West Virginia drove you out of the state?
No. He drove me because he was going to arrest me. They had state troopers in the Beta house. It was a fraternity house. Because he didn't like that
because his son was doing some. What's that guy doing now? Do you know?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea. And I went back to New York and ran my father's company for a little bit because he was sick. Then I got into insurance and made a lot of money because I tell people watch my feet and not my mouth because I can manipulate people. That's why I was so good running my hedge funds for years. And made a lot of money. And I thought, smart idea. Why don't I open up some country western bars in Manhattan? I had one Annie Oakley Saloon and another one City Limits. And
this is the 80s?
This was, that was in the late 70s.
Because
I got sober May 23rd, 1983.
Okay.
So it was the late 70s, really the early 80s, because I didn't have those places for long because, as I said, this substance that I had to have a lot of every day took me down the rabbit hole, and I lost everything.
So you'll have 40 years next May.
I will.
Wow, that's
I
a
will.
long time.
Yeah, I'll catch up to John, but he doesn't want to have me catch up because then bad stuff has to happen to him.
Yeah, right.
He'll never catch it as
Yeah.
long as he stays on the.
I think
Got
you
it.
know.
I got it.
Yeah, so but I have to tell you guys, it's just about today. That's the way I approach my life. I wake up every morning. Let's go back to that mustard seed, right? I walked into that place looking for coffee and donuts. I go down this basement on 37th Street and Park Avenue. I see on the wall a thing that says mustard seed. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It happened to be the oldest, like one of the oldest AA meetings in New York City.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Wow.
And I'm sitting in the back row. I'm stanky, long brown hair, hadn't washed in weeks and stuff. And this guy, this big giant guy, Max, comes over to me and he says, "How you doing, kid?" I was 32. And I said, "I think I'm going to die." And he says, "Good chance." He said, you have two chances now. He says, "You're at a place." He says, "You can go back out there and act like an animal, live like an animal, and possibly die, probably. Or you can stay here, do what we do, and possibly, just possibly, you could have a life you never could have ever imagined." And that's what I've had the last 39 years. Never, ever, ever. I didn't believe that or anything. He even had me couch surf in his apartment for a couple of months before I could get a job and everything.
So you were a hedge fund manager. You lost it all.
No, I was. That came after.
That came after.
sober.
Okay.
No,
So
it was in insurance and had these bars, restaurants. Okay.
and you're opening up country western bars at the height of disco period, by the way.
No, it was Urban Cowboy was around then. Come on.
Okay. All right.
Because in city limits, we had the bull, we had everything, the big dance floor.
I was alive, but I was very young. Shut up, Art.
No, the disco days, believe me, 54, Danceteria in New York, Max's Kansas City.
Were you in all
Yeah,
those
oh,
places?
yeah.
Oh, I bet. BC, was it BCBG? Yeah.
CBGB's.
C-
that
C-
was that was downtown.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I'm trying to imagine you. I mean, it's funny because I see myself, I look in the mirror at myself sometimes and I'm like, I know the things I did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't look like the guy who did the things I did 20 years ago. And I think of my dad who, my dad kind of looks like, you've never seen my dad, but he kind of looks like the dude
Right.
but I think about what I look like now and what I know I looked like 20 years ago. And I thought I was hot stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I at that point, country western bar. I dressed in black leathers. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Ponytail. I thought I was the second coming of Jim Morrison.
So you
No one
lose.
gets out of here alive.
So you lose everything. You're in the tunnels. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then you go to the mustard seed meeting, right?
Uh-huh.
You start couch surfing for a little while, and then next thing you know, 2 years later, you're a hedge fund manager.
Well, I wasn't a hedge fund manager right away. I
Okay.
mean, I started working for bucket shops. Okay, places where you do a lot of cold calling.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of movies.
Yeah, I'm
Like that.
picturing a
Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I remember I interviewed at Oppenheimer, which is where I spent a lot of years, and the investment bank. And I remember I was talking to this guy, Jordan Berlin, who was the manager, and I was pitching him, and he said, "Frank, you're not going to jump over the desk and get me, are you?" But I worked my ass off.
You worked your ass off.
And I am pretty intuitive and pretty smart, with finance. And yeah, I had a huge career making stupid money.
Well, how'd you get to San Francisco? I mean, to San Diego.
Well,
Was it another woman?
2007, was it 2007? My ex-wife moved to LA. We were separated at the time. To do a big real estate project, and we had separated and all. And 6 months later, I decided it was time for Dad to become a Californian because my daughter Julia, she was 13 at the time. She's special needs,
Yeah.
And she's my miracle baby. She just graduated yesterday from Marymount University in LA with on the dean's list with a BA in business.
Nice.
All right.
Blew me away. And what I will tell you is that she is my teacher, because my ex-wife and I, Laura, we tried to have children, couldn't, did a bunch of in vitros, and adopted Julia right around Albany. This is 28 years ago. And 6 months into it, she wasn't doing certain things that a normal baby does. So we took her to see the pediatric doctor. He sent us to a pediatric neurologist, put her in an MRI, a baby this small. He comes out after an hour and says, "I'm sorry, but Julia will never walk or talk."
Wow.
She was born without a part of her brain and hemiparesis. I will tell you that Julia rides horses, she skis, and she gave the commencement address at Beverly Hills High School. And yesterday she was put in my life as my teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. To see someone that can go, I mean, I've had some crazy stuff and big challenges, but this child, this woman blows me away, and she is such an inspiration to me every day. You know, hopefully she'll be here next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully she'll come with Rascal, her puppy. You know, I gave my ex-wife and I, Laura, gave her a puppy, Rascal, 2 years ago for her birthday, which is a Karen Terrier. He's named right, Rascal. Okay. They came for 7 months last year, and she went back in December to go back into full-time school at Marymount. And Rascal was here, and you've met Kona.
Yeah.
You know, Kona is my rescue dog from LA, and he works as a therapy dog, a trauma dog. And every night Kona would look at me and is he going home tonight? So hopefully Rascal will come back.
Yeah.
You know.
So you were out there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
20 years.
20.
I started drinking in 11 or 12. My stuff comes out of trauma, extreme trauma, violent, sexual, in the church.
Okay.
I won't go. You can guess what that was about. Okay. And so I started drinking and finding anything to feel good, because I believe that most, if not all, addiction comes out of trauma, and a lot of it early childhood trauma. And I just was looking to feel better.
Yeah.
You know, and had horrendous consequences.
So I have to ask you, and this gets personal, and we can
go ahead. I'm
gloss,
open book.
But you know what you're telling me, and I mean I know this about you, and you've been very open about your story to me and to others, and what you're telling me, and when I hear you going to that mustard seed meeting, you know, that first AA meeting that you walked into, and you get the donuts and the coffee, and then suddenly, you know, there's the word God thrown in there. Now, and I know AA.
If they had said the word God that heavily, you would have seen my butt out the door.
Well, and and I think that's the experience of many people that, you know, and because we talk about AA and NA as spiritual programs, which I understand them to be spiritual programs. I don't consider them religious programs, and yet that word God is there, and that can be a real turnoff. And as you just said, your butt going the other direction, that can be a real turnoff to people. How did you overcome that? Or
I didn't really have to, because I had Max. I was really lucky. I had these older guys that adopted me, basically.
Okay.
And they knew about, and I didn't know the exact nature of what had happened until about 12 years ago in LA. I just knew that there was abuse, and craziness. And they said, don't even think about it as religious, okay? And the three guys, they said, we're not religious at all, you know? You know, one guy says, you know, it's God is dog backwards, you know?
I like that.
So they told me it was good, orderly direction, whatever. But
group of drunks.
Yeah. I mean, now I'll tell you how I look at it. My God is nature. Every morning I take Kona, and we go down to the James River and by the Nickel Bridge, and for a sunrise hike.
Yeah.
And when the sun comes up, I just say, "Hey, Pops, thanks for a great day."
Yeah.
And say a little type of third step prayer that I've made up. And my God is in nature.
Yeah.
It really is. It shows me up every day. I know.
I love that. And, my understanding, I don't think my understanding of God is ever going to be complete. I certainly don't expect that I have full understanding of where I'll be, what it is. And I hope to grow into learning more as I go forward. But, it really helped me to understand early on that it doesn't have to be the God of
No.
the religions that had been oppressive to me as well. And so, listening to your story and listening to that whole idea of, it's just something greater than I am.
Yeah.
So for
I mean, for
really.
those of us that were brought up Catholic or
Mm.
Jewish, okay, there's a great religiosity towards the God concept. I have a friend, and by the way, I say AA, NA, CA, they're all the same to me. It's just different symbols. I don't differentiate any modality because I go to them all.
Yeah.
Mostly AA and NA now. Because that's where I am. What was I going to say now? See, I have CRS. Okay, do you know what CRS is?
Can't remember shit.
Exactly. And some people like to say it's because of my age, but I have to tell you, I had a lot of concussions, not a lot, playing football at West Virginia. Okay. I tried to even stop Franco Harris one time, and he stepped on my back, and I had cleat marks on my back for 2 months.
Damn.
And that's how old I am, Nathan. And then ski racing. I love skiing, and I'm a racer, so I've taken some bad falls, and also the drug stuff.
Yeah, that's my excuse.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of memory destroying substances over the years. That's what I always say.
Yeah. So it's just about the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love being here and what I'm doing now. I love coming on Mondays and dealing with the guys. It's so funny with the guys. You get the guys that are all tatted up and, the T-shirts, and I'll tell them, I'm coming in here. I'm going to teach you a way of breathing that's going to change your lives. And they look at me. Yeah. And I will tell you that the first time I did it with my guy, Sonny. Oh, this is what I want to say about Sonny now that I've thought. CRS does come around sometimes. Sonny says whenever he introduces himself, I'm Sonny, alcoholic, whatever. He says, and I thank God for AA, and I thank AA for my new understanding of God. Okay, which means whatever you want to be. So I was going through a lot of trauma 7 years ago that was kicking up. Still, even after having a huge career and being 33 years sober and everything else. And I read this book called The Body Keeps the Score because I had all this trauma. Okay. And in that book, it says that any kind of trauma, it doesn't have to be the sexual, the violent, it can be just how you hear yourself. It could be definitely substance abuse, tremendous amount of trauma, but it can just what I heard you telling me who I was supposed to be, parents, church, teachers. Okay. And what the book says is that it all is in your body, usually around your sacral chakra, which is around your hips and your groin. So I met this guy, Sonny, who was an old friend of mine back in LA, and he said, do you want to get rid of it? And basically, it was really triggering me and destroying relationships and stuff. And I was at like the last house on the block, And I said, yep, whatever you want. So he told me what it was going to entail. So I looked at him, I said, and here I am, a New York hedge guy, right? And I said, so I'm going to pay you money for me to lie down on the ground, learn some new style of breathing, and it's going to change my whole life? And he said, yep. And I said, uh-huh.
I got a bridge in Brooklyn for you, right?
So I laid down and I did this first session. And it was very cathartic for me because I went all in. Okay. And I was crying and stuff was coming up. And I looked at him after it ended and I said, what the just happened? He says, you shifted from your head and into your heart. And that's what it's all about. And I'll tell you one thing about Max. Okay. Here's a great first response that I have. Max told me on the second day, he said, I want to teach you one thing about life, never mind recovery. The most important thing for you to do every day is to do things that make you feel good about yourself.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, there was meetings, sponsor, whatever. Now it's I wake up at 5 a.m., I read a book, I do a little journaling, I take Kona out, I do breath work with people or, whatever. But it's all, and that's the whole key. When I work with men or women, I don't work with women except for doing breath work. I tell them there's one key. If you make sure that every day you only do things that make you feel good about yourself, you'll have no issues. I have not seen one person in 39 years that either drinks alcoholically or sticks needles in their arm or take pills when they feel good about themselves. Not one.
How do we feel good about ourselves?
What makes you feel good about yourself?
Yeah.
For me, it's helping people. You help people all the time. It's about, being of service. And it's like, for me, meditation, although, I used to teach meditation here, but I'm not a great meditator. They talk about monkey mind. Okay. Well,
is that the monkey in the brain throwing poop?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's me.
Okay. But my monkey, is a giant ape in a giant palm tree jumping from branch to branch. Okay. Not letting me stay quiet.
Not letting you stay quiet.
No. So what breath work does is it hacks the brain.
Yeah.
Because you're breathing in 2 breaths in, 1 breath out, and you're not thinking. So it hacks your brain. I mean, yes, your brain is going to start talking. And then I used to have a mantra in the beginning, because this is one of the things that happens that I tell people. And I had a mantra, just F off brain, take the next breath. Because
I like that.
Yeah. Well, 3 things. When someone comes in and does breath work with me, okay, and it's when I found this, okay, it changed my whole life. I walked away from Wall Street, okay, because when I found it, again, what Max told me about doing things that make you feel good about yourself, I started doing it every day. Right. Then I found the best teachers all over the world to get certified and everything else. And I had always talked, like when I was on Wall Street, changing the world by making money and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be egocentric, but I have found a way for me to change the world, one person at a time, 1 breath at a time. That's my mission. That's LoneWolf breathwork.
Yeah. Okay. I see where that goes. Okay. So you have this. I think I put in the description of the show, the entrepreneurship, is that the word I used, of LoneWolf. So tell me about it. Tell us about LoneWolf. What is it?
Now we're gonna get woo woo.
Wait, what do you, when you say woo woo, what do you mean by that?
Well, people here call me Woo Woo Frank because I do stuff that's out of the box.
Who calls you Woo Woo Frank?
Some people call me Woo Woo Frank. Yeah, not you.
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah. Okay.
I might start calling you that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay.
We can call him Woo Woo Frank.
Woo Woo Frank.
Woo Woo Frank.
12 years ago, I took I did a retreat in New Mexico, in Rose Mountain. I was living out in LA, but I met 7 guys from New York City who were like my tribe in New York with another fellowship, and 7 guys from Austin, Texas. And we went on top of this mountain in New Mexico, which was a very holistic, no electricity, everything organic.
Was ayahuasca involved? Or?
No.
Okay.
Never done ayahuasca.
Okay.
Not yet. No.
Well, it's all yets, right?
Everything is a yet.
Right.
Everything is a yet. So, but we had no phones, no electric, nothing. Okay. And it was a lot of very intensive men work. I like doing a lot of empowering work with men. Okay. I'm always looking at things to do. And at the end of it, we were to do a sweat lodge, and it was an authentic sweat lodge with the Indians coming in, the Apaches and everything else. And then after that, you do a vision quest. Okay. So prior in the week, we had to go out and find our space on the mountain where we would spend the night, because you go out like 7 o'clock and you're not picked up, or you're not allowed to come back until the next morning. So I found this giant redwood, or no, it wasn't redwood, I forget, but it was huge. Like the mother tree on the mountain that I went to. So 3 hours or 2 hours in this sweat lodge where I'm, basically all naked in there doing Indian chants and talking about ancestors. My mouth is in the mud
done one of
trying to
these.
get air.
I mean,
Yeah.
My mouth is on the trying to suck up air. And then after that, you go out and you have soup and some water, and then you go out. Yeah,
soup.
yeah. It's not nothing. It's it's all about a big ceremonial thing.
Mm.
Then you go out to your place on the mountain for your vision quest. And I'm a New York City kid, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And here I'm in this place, okay? It's a 10-yard by 20-yard, or not even that big, and you get a tarp. That's all you get, okay? And a bottle of water. No watches, nothing. And I'm sitting against this tree, and it's raining softly. And I'm just leaning back, and you got bears and all kinds of stuff all around, and you're hearing all these noises. I was not sleeping at all, okay? And about 4:45, I come out of what was like an in and out sleep. And I look over to where Art is sitting there, and there's a giant gray wolf sitting there. Okay. And sat there for an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now, after the fact, I thought I was hallucinating from all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't accept it. And basically what was happening at that time is that the telecommunication that was coming through is he was saying, what are you still doing on Wall Street? Get your ass and help men.
Mm.
Okay. That's what came out of that. And I went back, and a few years later, about 3 years later, I started getting my dreams coming back.
Yeah.
So I've been a lone wolf all my life, whether it was business, whether it was rock and roll, whether it was recovery. So Lone Wolf, and I have Lone Wolf breathwork, and then I have the Way to Lone Wolf, was a whole program I'm starting for men. Okay.
Okay.
And my mission is to bring back the other lone wolves back to the pack through human connection.
Okay.
That is what Lone Wolf breathwork is all about.
Huh.
And the Way of the Lone Wolf is all about using the breathwork to get out of trauma, and then having a whole nother program where it's holistic, physical, spiritual, mental, sobriety, okay, all together with men working together, okay, to transform themselves,
Yeah.
okay, to make new visions for themselves every day. So that's just starting to come together now.
So I can see how you go from this. Well, I mean, you're a New Yorker, so skepticism is in the DNA, right? A little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Un petit.
Un petit. Or how do you say that in Italian? Hey. To this, to the new woo-woo Frank that I'm now calling you. Sorry, but I see that. I see that, and I've driven through Mexico. I didn't stop and spend a lot of time in Mexico. And New Mexico. I want to, because
Beautiful.
New Mexico,
Absolutely unbelievable.
and Utah was another place too, where I felt like I need to go back. I just need to go back, and I did go off the road a little bit in New Mexico for a little while, just because I was doing that, and took some great pictures and spent a little time in the among the cacti.
Yeah.
And I think of that. I'm like, well, but
Don't get me snorting.
But I can see where that it has a very mystical feel. There's a spiritualism that I can't. I mean, I was on a journey anyway. I was intentional with the journey to experience different things, and in ways, it was a very much a Nathan journey. I'm talking. So I took my trip 2 years ago around the country, and in many ways, it was a very Nathan thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see a whole bunch of things really fast and not go too deep.
Mm-hmm.
I can be conversant enough that I can sound smart on some things, but I don't really have the depth of that's skeptical. I'm from New Jersey originally. That's New Jersey in me coming out a little bit. And what I get from that is there are these places that I went to where I did have where I took suggestions from people and went to places that were on my itinerary. And there were these moments where I just went with my gut and just went off the road and said, let's go see what this is over here. And there are these places in amongst that where I'm like, man, I want to go and do more of that. Like I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago, and I'm a different person than I was, that trip made me a different person from the beginning to end. And part of that was I was alone I was alone all that driving, for the most part. And that required me to really face a lot. Those moments, I did the Pacific Coast Highway on California, which
I laid down a Triumph and left part of my arm on that, and then I promised Julia that I would never get on a bike ever again.
Wow.
So, yes.
If you don't know what the Pacific Coast Highway is, Route 1, it's got to be a crazy dangerous place to be on a motorcycle. It's bad enough on a car.
Oh, it's great.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. But there are moments my brain has these intrusive thoughts where it's like, you know what? If I just went flying over the edge here, wouldn't look like suicide.
Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, something could be done with all this nonsense. And so, facing all that stuff. And so I could see doing what you did with a group of people, because that was certainly one of the, I'd like to do the whole thing again, or do bits of it again, go and be more intentional with the trip. And I want to go with my tribe, being alone is great. But I want my tribe. I want my people. I want to share the experience. And so this sounds like something I would want to do, is I guess what I'm getting at.
I have a friend, Lee McCormick, who used to run a great dual diagnosis place in Nashville. And he wrote a book called Spirit Recovery. You might want to get it. It's all about the spirit, and that Indian spirit type of stuff, okay, and spiritual. And he takes a retreat down to Mexico a couple of times, and he wants me to go with him in December to the pyramids down in Mexico. He says, you will come back a different person. So I'm always out there looking at going deeper. I was listening to a great podcast just a couple of days ago by Mike Singer. He wrote The Untethered Soul. And he was talking about that, and this is not about a recovery, just about life, is that we have all this stuff that we want to get, okay? And we have the insides that are a mess.
Yeah.
He says, if you have a refrigerator where you haven't cleaned it out in 4 months, you better not put new stuff back in there, okay?
I feel like that's a knock at us. He's inheriting my fridge now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like just your apartment. If you don't clean up, you have garbage laying around. Yeah. We have to clean out the garbage in order to let the new stuff. And the whole premise was, I believe it says, what are you going to do to get the garbage up, to get the garbage stuff out? And when are you going to start doing it?
Yeah.
And to me, that's behind. I mean, it's great to go into recovery and, and to get things back, okay, and start these big journeys and all. And we look at sometimes recovery as being successful as, what am I becoming, or what do I have, okay?
Yeah.
And not enough stuff is talked about. What am I doing in here? What am I doing in here? Because I believe, and that's, for me, what breath work has been, is I've gotten all of that trauma out of me, okay? All of it, I mean, it wasn't just the stuff that happened there. It was, I had a sponsor of 5 years who, he was great. He was my mentor on Wall Street. We used to go rock climbing, skiing, motorcycles together. And after the crash of '87, he killed himself because he was like the guru. And I found him 4 days after he had hung himself from a chinning bar in his apartment in his brownstone, and it was just before my 5-year anniversary. And I didn't have a sponsor for years because I didn't trust, because this was the first man I trusted. So what I did was I found my ex-wife Laura had all of, I think, 60 days. I met her at an AA dance and got married about 6 months later. And all the women in New York were just beating the crap out of me with 13-step and stuff.
5 years going after for 6. Oh my goodness, Frank.
Distractions.
Yeah.
Hey, we had, 25 years we were married, and Julia
Yeah.
comes out of that. So, Yeah, it's the journey is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing, and it's funny though. In regard to the breath work, no men above say 50 will do it. No one. I'm fine. Is what they tell me. Okay. And even with the guys, okay, on Mondays, you know, the younger guys, you know, the half of them are not totally against it, but their brains are locked.
Sure.
And the other half, the women are more open to it, just like where I do it because I do Zooms twice a week. I do an outdoor at Bird Park on 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I do a breathwork class, and it's mostly women that come.
Yeah.
You know, because they're more open to going inside.
There is a whole slew of emotional blocks that, you know, I'll keep it on men, you know, that we put up to keep us from feeling things. And I think, you know, Nathan, my little humble opinion, you know, for me at least, you know, not knowing how to regulate those emotions has had an impact on my using. You know, it certainly, I medicated that the not wanting to deal with all these really intense emotions from a young age, and well, I won't go too deep into that, but you know, all these emotions where, you know, I'm only, you know, I'm 4.5 years into my recovery journey that are, you know, I'm recognizing how certain things are still pushing at me, you know, how I can be sarcastic and bitchy at sometimes, you know, when I don't want to be, you know, especially to my favorite people. How you know, I'm getting ready to start a new job next week, and instead of, you know, focusing on some of the things I need to do to prepare for that job or to finish the things that I need to do to, you know, end this job, you know, I spend my day, you know, looking at desktops. Art can attest to the fact that I've done nothing but talk about butcher blocks
all day,
countertops and things, you know, all the time. And it's, for me, it's almost, it's not as destructive as the drugs and alcohol, but there is a destructiveness to that, because what it's giving me the permission to suppress feelings, you know, the feeling that at any moment they're going to find out that I'm not qualified for this job I'm about to start, or at any moment they're going to realize I haven't been doing a great job here at all. You know, nobody, you'll just look and say, oh my God, he doesn't know what he's doing and he's just been faking it. At any moment they're going to tell me I'm not good enough for this, you know, or at any moment, you know, it's all just going to come crashing around me, you know, and I'm going to lose it all again. So I'm just going to focus on spending, you know, the time that I have just doing these instant gratification things. And I see that cycle, and it's a tough one to break.
Well, would you maybe agree with me that possibly all addiction is just a distraction?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's distracting me from, like Mike Singh was doing, from going inside.
Yeah.
See, I have a mentor that in Canada, Gabor Mate. Yeah. He wrote a great book, Paul, In the Realm of the Hungry Ghosts. And his whole hypothesis on addiction is that anything can become addictive, okay? Because we're looking to satisfy this need to feel good, okay? And we can't stop doing it. And then it has potentially horrendous consequences on it. And Gabor is where I really went deep with him. And, you know, everyone wants to, especially in a lot of recovery places, they want to say, why the addiction? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of asking the question, I believe, why the pain? Why the pain? What got me to doing that? I know 11, 12, 13, having that was where got me into alcohol and drugs, without a doubt. Okay. And it just steamrolled after that, you know? So that's what I work with my men. Where's your pain? Because I can be distracted by anything now, food, sex, you know, relationships, power, whatever. It's not drugs and alcohol anymore. I mean, I don't even think about it. You know, I was lucky to come up with guys that say, no matter what, you don't pick up, your ass falls off, you pick it up and bring it to a meeting.
Right.
You know? So I was lucky in that way. And my problem was so horrendous that I didn't have to go down to the sub basement. I was in the tunnels.
Below the-
Literally in the tunnels.
And you never know what it's going to take. I see these guys doing 5, 6, 7 times in rehabs, and it takes what it takes.
Yeah.
People who are against like medically assisted therapy, like using. I was in Cleveland before I came to Leesburg for a short while, working with the heroin addicts there, and they had refrigerated trucks lined up at the morgues because the carfentanil and fentanyl problem was so bad there.
Yeah.
And with that kind of stuff, you can't just cold turkey it and go in and say, I'm not going to use this. Okay. And I was strictly an abstinence person until then, until I realized, hey, in order for someone to get to recovery, they got to stay alive first.
Yeah.
So, it's been such a journey over the years, and comfortability, and being on Wall Street was a big distraction for doing the spiritual work too.
Yeah.
And I had a daughter with special needs, so that was another thing I put all my energies into.
Huh. Well, what else you got going on? Well, I say that we this cruising right along.
I started online dating, right?
Wait, recently?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's like trying to nail Jello to a tree.
Oh God. my mother.
I've been single for the past couple of years and doing a lot of work, and I say, yeah, why not? But
My mother's single,
okay.
and she's moving to the area.
She is,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. She just bought a house in Midlothian. Yeah.
You did not want me with you.
Well, it's funny because my mom and I over Christmas, it was just the two of us on, I guess, Christmas night. I went over I got there Christmas Eve in Northern Virginia, and Christmas night we're just sitting there, the two of us, and we had a deeper conversation than I was hoping for. Let's just own that, and certainly more than I expected. And it started with. Well, I'm not gonna tell her story, but there was just a lot, and by the end, we're both comparing our love lives, and it became, I mean, in a joking way, in a loving way, but it became try being a 45-year-old gay guy overweight, with a drug problem, oh yeah, well, try being, with my mom, and we did this whole game, and at the end of it was kind of like, damn, we're screwed.
You bring up mothers, and important thing that I'll bring up is that a couple of years ago, this guy, Lee McCormick, it's about 18 months ago. I don't have a lot of memory about my childhood. And as I said, I thought all this stuff happened when I was 11, 12, 13. And he said, go back and find your first memory of childhood. And I grew up in this place in Manhattan called Stuyvesant Town, which was a big development. Okay. It was great. It's a small city in the middle of Manhattan on the Lower East Side. And they had different playgrounds, basketball playgrounds, punch bowl playgrounds, swings, basketball. And I remember at 4 years old, my first memory is my mother taking me to a swing playground, playground 4. I was on the swings. I fell off and I cracked my knee wide open, bleeding all over, and my mother walked away from me. Okay. And other women came and took care of me, other mothers there. Now, at 4 years old, I'm thinking I'm a piece of shit. My mother doesn't want anything to do with me. Okay. So at 11 and 12, when I have these other influences coming in, I'm looking for love. Okay. And I didn't find out until 19 years old that my father told me that when my mother was 6 years old, she was living in a townhouse up in what now is Spanish Harlem. It used to be Italian and Croatian. My mother's Croatian, with Yugoslavian back then. And at 6 years old, a fire broke out in their place. She was inside. She lost her brother, her mother, and her 3 sisters.
Oh, wow.
In front of her. So she couldn't connect.
Wow.
She had survivor guilt. I never had a relationship with my mother. Okay. No wonder I have all these crazy relationships with women or looking for mothers and stuff. But at 97, I was in LA. I was running this big sober living place because I'd walked away. I get the call from my sister, hey, come home because mom she might be passing soon. So we went home when we hadn't had much conversations. My mother was losing it. And my sister went out of the house, and I was in my mother's apartment. This is the apartment I grew up in, too. And she said, Frankie, come here and sit on the bed. And I sat on the bed, and she said, she looked at me and she said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I never told you how much I loved you. I love you as my son, my everything. And that's all I wanted to hear all those years. You know, in a couple of weeks later, I get the call at 4 a.m, so I knew what that was about. And, you know, I came back for her funeral. She was going to be 98, 97, 98. Great life, long life. And had the funeral, people coming up, oh, it's too bad. And I says, what are you talking about? I said, I'm here to celebrate my mother. You know, She had a long life. She had a great life with my father, you know, great kids. So I'm sorry if I'm not going to do this crying bit with you.
This theater.
Am I sad? Yeah. But I'm here to celebrate it. So that whole nexus of that's where my initial trauma came from at 4 years old.
That's carrying generational trauma over. Yeah.
Well,
sure.
Trauma goes through the DNA.
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's time for us to get rid of the toxicity at a certain point, you know. And breath work changes DNA, by the way.
Whoa. Wow. I like how you brought that back. Wow.
And it extends telomeres. You know what telomeres are?
No, but I'm about to.
Well, this is my work back on Wall Street, okay, at a biotech hedge fund.
Okay.
And there's a lot about telomeres and anti-aging. Telomeres on the end of your DNA strand. It's like, say your DNA is like a shoelace, okay? And at the end of your shoelace, you have a little plastic cap that keeps it from unraveling.
There's a name for that. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, on the DNA, that cap is called telomeres.
Okay.
Okay. And when they deteriorate from stress or inflammation, that's when you age, because the telomeres fall apart and the DNA strands falls apart. So what we were doing back then was trying to find companies that were doing things to extend the telomeres and not have them fall apart, anti-aging. And it's been proven that, you know, and it's still initial stuff, you know, that the telomeres are affected through breath work. And John didn't like it when I said this, you know, when you do breath work, okay, and it doesn't happen right in the beginning, and it doesn't happen if you go after it. But when you do the breath work, oxytocin and DMT is secreted out of your brain into your bloodstream and into your heart. So I call it getting high on my own supply.
Remember that.
I mean, I guess I could see why you wouldn't like that, but
I'm kidding. I love John. I mean, John, this is so out of the box that John lets me come in here and do it in Jesse, you know, it's great. Well, Carol has done it with me and she loves it.
Has she?
Yeah. Did at a retreat out at my friend Larry Roberts' Zenrenity Farms, and I'm doing breath work at a retreat next weekend out there with him.
I got a lot out of it the first time I did it, back in January.
Yeah.
I cried the first time.
I know. I remember.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but you would like this in the beginning too.
I was. Yeah.
And he's from California.
Yeah.
Hey.
Pasadena. Yeah.
That's where my daughter's school was in Altadena, right next to that.
Right up the street. Yeah.
Yeah. Frostig. It was right there. Yeah. It was with Beverly Hills High School. Yeah.
Beverly Hills High School. Didn't they have a show about that?
902.
902.
Yeah. Yeah. So
wait, is Pasadena?
Pasadena is north it's over the hill.
Yeah, they call it Crown City.
Yeah.
It's on top of LA.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's really neat. Pasadena is a great little town.
Yeah.
I like
old.
it. Yeah, it is an old town.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I lived in LA for about 7 years, and I could never go back to LA. It's just too nuts with the traffic, and you know, everyone's a wannabe there. So, you know? And there's a lot of drama that goes on there. And plus, and I live down in Encinitas, which is right where San Diego is. And, I can never afford to live there anymore, because either you live at the water or you live 20 miles inland, which is like semi-desert, and it's 120 degrees. So
that is absolutely amazing to me, because I had never been to San Diego until 2 years ago, and what you just said, how the 40-degree difference in 20 miles, literally, that's an insane 30, maybe 30, 40 degrees difference, insane.
I lived in a place called Encinitas, which was a great place. It's right below Carlsbad, which was sort of like the Southampton of California. Laura and I used to have a house in Southampton.
The Southampton.
Yeah. I love Southampton. Beaches there are the best.
Yeah, I went to a school in Carlsbad, Army and Navy Academy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Cool. Carlsbad's a great town.
Yeah.
But it gets too crowded on weekends. All the tourists come down there and all. So then you knew Encinitas, right?
I
Right
wasn't
below
there
it.
too long. This was back in high school, and I was only there for maybe a couple months, and I
Got
got kicked out. Ended up in Wisconsin. So yeah,
California,
military
Wisconsin.
school.
Yeah, polar bear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So Encinitas was great. I lived right where this place was called Swami's, because there was a place, the SRF Fellowship there, which is Swami Yogananda, and he had a house there, and there was the SRF Fellowship where his house was. And at the gardens, there were like 3 levels of gardens. And there was all koi fish and all of the things. So I used to go there and meditate and do a little blogging there. And I had on the bottom pool, I had named all the koi fish, Bandit and Rambo and stuff like that.
Rambo.
And if you go over the cliffs, was an unbelievable surf break called Swami's. Yeah, and I used to windsurf out there. I wasn't a good surfer.
No,
I wasn't a good windsurfer either. But I'm an adrenaline junkie, so.
That's awesome. Well, Frank, thank you for being here today. Is there anything we've not covered that you want to talk about real quick?
I don't know. I'm writing the book. Lone Wolf comes back to the pack, so more to be revealed.
Tell all Frank's story. Frankie.
Nice.
Hey, Frankie.
Woo-woo Frank.
Woo-woo.
Yeah. I love being here with you guys.
Yeah.
You and I met when I first came here, and I loved that you were doing things with refuge, because I love meditation and stuff.
We have the Dharma meeting. That's now Recovery Dharma. That there's one here on Sundays. There's the 2 ones over by VCU.
Right.
One
At
is
the Friends,
and one's of the Friends on
Right.
Thursdays. That's right by my house.
Right.
I haven't been going regularly.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah.
I've gone to, AA and NA. I've just started going back to meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you know, but Noah Levine is the guy who taught me to meditate back at Against the Stream
Oh, wow.
in LA, because that was my meditation meeting until he had all his craziness and got.
How's he doing?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
I
met Noah, and when I told you I was in Cleveland, okay, and he gave a big talk. And I was trying to do 11-step meetings in Cleveland with AA, because I was there for about a year and a half. No one came to them, okay? And this is in Cleveland, which is where the birthplace of AA in Akron. We don't do that here. And Noah's doing this
we
talk.
don't do that here?
Yeah. So at least most of the people. So I saw this meeting. I go up to Noah sees me and he says, Cordovano, what are you doing here? I told him what I was doing, and I was telling him about trying. He says, so start refuge meetings.
Yeah.
And I did. I started like 4 refuge meetings. It was great. I love doing meditations before, because it changes just the whole scheme of the feeling of the room and everything.
Yeah.
I've
led a few of the meditations for the refuge meetings back when we had a refuge meeting here a few years ago. Yeah, it's interesting. The pandemic, and it's funny because I think, a couple of years from now, we're going to have more of an idea. Boy, that just got loud, didn't it? We're going to have more of an idea of just exactly how the pandemic and closing the world down has affected us. I think we're seeing it, obviously. We've certainly seen it more, more with the number of the overdose spikes.
Yeah.
And that's
and abuse in families and all.
Yeah.
The spikes in everything has been so. And I think out of that comes also more identification on addiction treatment, say like with homeless people, because people are really realizing the level of what poverty does.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people were getting displaced during the pandemic and stuff. And, you know, the whole spectrum of what addiction and recovery is so wide open.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's so much stigma. I mean, I'm involved with a whole bunch of guys, no stigma, no labels, you know,
Like that.
because, I mean, stigma kills people.
And we want to label.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I don't find it helpful. You know, I don't find labels helpful. That's another conversation for another time. But you know, because we're on the hour mark here, and I want to make sure we close out here. But thank you so much,
Bye, y'all.
Frank Cordovano, for being here with us today. Man, this is a fun talk. Lone Wolf over here, coming back to the pack. We're
human connection,
getting in the herd, as it were.
Yes, exactly. I want my hoodie.
It's the get in the hoodie. Hey, we will. Hey, listen. So all y'all out there, I found another site. We're gonna create a merch shop. Merch, is that what they say in California? Yeah. We're gonna create a merch shop. We just, I just need to do it. I don't have anything else in my life going on right now. So
on that, when I was back in Cleveland, I started an organization called Cleveland Recovered. And getting all the organizations together, and I had a picture of Cleveland with then Cleveland Recovers under it. I was thinking about maybe starting a Richmond Recovers.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
How does that sound? All right?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll join.
Yeah. We'll all work together, and it's about, and also using John and everybody else with connections, because it's all about getting agencies together.
Yeah.
But I don't have enough going on. I have to get, something more.
Be nice for all of us, all of our RCOs.
Okay,
so
that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start Richmond Recovers.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
that's it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Art,
hey y'all, thank you,
buddy.
Thanks
Appreciate
for coming on the show. Appreciate
Love
all the
knowing
work you do
Yeah,
here.
and you, big dog.
Thank you.
Bubblicious.
Oh my god, I feel like
bazooka.
Bazooka, like bazooka bubble. I like that actually.
Oh god,
Bubblicious sounds like a drag queen. And I know I have the long hair, but anyway, thank you all for being here today. We will see you on Tuesday. Do we know what we got going on Tuesday?
Don't, not yet.
You don't.
I don't.
No, I think I've got something planned. I don't remember. Women Wednesday, and then on Thursday the 1st, I will not be in the host seat. I don't know if you know this or not. Instead, I will be doing the kickoff, emceeing the kickoff event for Recovery Month nationally with Faces and Voices of Recovery. So I will be out of the chair. I don't know. Art might bring somebody in. Art might just take this opportunity to go, spend some quality time alone with his thoughts.
Oh, can I put another pitch in?
Please.
Okay. This past Saturday, I did a workshop out in a place in Midlothian with a friend of mine where I did the breath work.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend JJ, she's a Reiki master. She did Reiki on people as I'm doing the breath work. And just think about this, Art, okay? Now, Reiki brings out, it gets blocks out of you, okay? Think about having breath work and have someone releasing the blocks in your body as you're doing it, okay?
Time,
It was unbelievable. And we're going to do another one, I think, October 1st. So that's my really new thing. It's 2 modalities, breath work and the Reiki, both energy things, but
cool. How can people stay in touch?
My Facebook, Frank Cordovano. I'm going to put up a LoneWolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, stay connected. Find out what he's doing, because I'll tell you what, I get text messages all the time, and it's like 6 o'clock on a Sunday, and I'm like, yeah, Frank, I love you, but I'm not getting up until probably 8. So, but I love that I get those, because one of these days I'm gonna do it.
Well, you've been telling me for a year now you're going to come to a
Yeah, well, I was going to get clean for a long time too. So, but anyway, on that note, we will see you all next week. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Stay in the herd.